Our next presentation deals with competitive data. Our presenter is Tim Wilson, Vice President of Consumer Insights for 1010 Data. Tim, take it away.
Thank you very much, John. Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank you for carving some time out of your Wednesday to join us today. I'm on the phone today with my colleague, Sam Bhavnani. Sam, are you there?
I am. Hello, everybody.
All right, excellent. So we have a few slides we're going to walk everyone through here that the use of data as a competitive differentiator has really evolved quite quickly. 10 years ago, it was if you were sitting in a meeting and you were able to talk about how many people were going to the Walmart.com website or the Target.com website, knowing that type of data was something that kind of set you apart in the meeting. It wasn't something that people were used to having, and then the use of data has evolved from understanding high-level market sizing as far as traffic to a website is concerned, to audience measurement, to path to purchase. And today, marketers are using all different types of data to really add context and texture to their analysis. What I'm going to walk you through today are three different sections. The first thing we'll talk through are why we believe visibility is important and what impact we see visibility having on businesses. The next thing we'll talk through the benefits of a multi-source data approach, why we think it's important to have more than one data point telling you something. And then lastly, the meat of the presentation, what we'll spend most of the time on today, we'll show you some real data on the CPG industry and walk you through some examples that we see. So with that as a backdrop, I'm going to jump right in and start talking about visibility. I am a huge sports fan. I don't know if anybody on the line is, but I compare the retail and shopping landscape to sports. So if you think of these great athletes up here, Wayne Gretzky, Joe Montana, Serena Williams, they're all, I think, universally respected as among, if not the best, among the best who have ever played their sport. And just like you in the CPG space and your channel partners, the retailers and grocery stores, drugstores out there, we're all playing by the same rules, right? Wayne Gretzky was playing by the same rules as everyone else. You have the same restrictions and the same responsibilities as everyone else. What makes each one of these athletes better and among the best is not necessarily how big or fast or strong they are. In fact, most of these people here weren't very big or strong or fast. It's that they just simply saw the game differently. They were able to see things that others weren't able to really see, and moreover, they were able to process it quickly and go where they need to go, right? Wayne Gretzky is famous for saying, don't skate where the puck is, skate where the puck's going. And so we believe that data is that competitive differentiator, and it what allows you as CPGs to see the field differently and anticipate what the consumer needs are going to be and get there faster than everyone else, right? Skate where the puck's going. The one thing that's in common, no matter what part of the industry you're in, is that your industry is changing. It's evolving quickly, right? Doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're dealing with the impact of subscription on your space, personalization, mobile, et cetera. We all have all these different challenges. So how do you get a clear line of vision in an environment that's changing so quickly? We believe this is where data can come in and help. This is where data can come on in and help. And so,
a question come in, Tim. Well, how did you get this data?
How did we get this data here? So 1010 Data has we have a consumer purchase panel that's made up of three core tenants. It's credit card and bank statement data, email receipt information, and clickstream, which is consumers' path to purchase. We collect the clickstream, the email receipt, and the credit card, debit card data, combine it together to give us the most, we believe, to be the most complete view of the consumer shopping and purchase activity. So this entire data you'll see on the bottom is sourced from our consumer purchase panel.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, good question. Please, if you have other questions, people, please just toss them into the chat box. So you'll see we have some categories highlighted here with pet being among the fastest growing category we saw online in 2015. And we're going to dive into many more examples of this data throughout. But moreover, not just the benefits of a multi-source approach we'll touch on, but really here's an approach that we see companies are taking to bring in and use third-party data. So if you're an organization on the phone right now who has access to third-party or is wondering what's the best way for me to actually apply this inside my organization, I'm going to walk you through 3 quick steps that we see working, right? Saying you're a data-driven organization is easy to say, but it can be difficult to do. It can be difficult to become a data-driven organization, and we believe that, again, that visibility the data will provide is what's going to help you separate yourself from the pack. And here's a list of our external company data I just mentioned, right, that we have. And so the first thing that we do is people identify what are some key questions that are most important to you that you want to address for your business. What are the questions that you want to know? What's the path to purchase? How big is my category and how fast is it growing online? Right? Most of this data is really rich for online sales data. What's your market share? And then you figure out, if this is a question I want to know, what are the resources I need to answer those questions? Right? At 1010 Data, we happen to have 63 different data sets. So we have a lot of different data that we use. Historically, we've sold this data into Wall Street, and we're now providing it out to manufacturers like those of you on the phone. Many of you on the phone may already know us because of existing relationships we have through retailers such as Dollar General and Rite Aid, where we provide their vendor portal for you guys to do your analysis on. So you map the questions, and then you need a way to combine all the information so you can get that visibility, right? You want to combine your first-party data, your retailer data, your T-log, and of course get additional context from the third-party data. And I think that context is key. And we're going to spend some time now walking through some real-world examples of data to help you understand the importance of context and the importance of understanding, if your sales are up 10%, whether or not that's good or bad.
Tim, I'd just like to chime in real quick before we start into the examples. And I think the overview is excellent for us to see all of the different data sources that we have and the different ways that we're going about measuring what people are doing. The key question to ask though is why, right? Like why does any of this stuff matter, right? And in the end, you guys are in a very competitive space, and working with research providers like 1010 is going to enable you. There's a quote I have from one of our clients. He says, "You guys let me stay 5 minutes ahead of the competition."
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. So I agree. Understanding and staying ahead of the competition is critical. And so let's walk through some real data. This data, again, is sourced from our consumer purchase panel. The consumer purchase panel is made up of email receipt data, clickstream, and credit card, debit card banking information. First thing that we'll see for 2015 is that CPG is outpacing the rest of e-commerce growth. 1010 Data's definition of e-commerce growth, we focus on retail. And so for our definition of retail, it's if you walk into a mall, what are the types of stores you would see there? Or if you go to a grocery store or drugstore, we do not include things like automotive sales and things, in travel. That to us is not within the retail sector. So we saw total retail e-commerce grow a little over 30% last year, and we saw CPG grow 42%. So a 33% increase over the rest of e-commerce sector. So CPG is really gaining significant traction, which is meaningful for a lot of you who are trying to find new margin pools and new ways to actually grow your market share within the U.S. Online offers you a new battleground to gain that market share and develop or find these new margin pools. So what are the categories of growth that we're seeing? This is based on percentage growth in 2015. And what jumps out to me when we look at the percentage growth is that with the exception of bottled water, what we see here are all categories of non-edibles, right? So what we're seeing here are the household essentials that people use to basically run their lives on a day-to-day basis, right? Protein powder and bottled water aside, perhaps. So laundry detergent was the fastest growing sector that we saw as far as a percentage growth is concerned. And when we switch over to dollars, it's a little bit of a different story. And what you'll see as far as dollars is concerned is pet food being extremely large online. Pet food is growing quickly, and it's already the largest category of CPG that we see for e-commerce activity. You'll see a lot more information on pet food as we walk through these slides.
Tim, what is the biggest pet food retailer online?
The biggest pet food retailer, that's a good question, Tim. We actually have a slide on that coming up right now. It's most of the time, Amazon is the largest retailer for whatever you're talking about, whether it's hair care or coffee. In pet care, though, it's a site named Chewy. And we'll talk a little bit more about Chewy later on in these slides. But it shows you that there's still room online for you to be much more nimble and aggressive than Amazon and to win on sites outside of Amazon. So when we go from categories, now just getting into brands, right? So Pampers, I don't know if that's a big surprise to anyone. Pampers being the largest brand within CPG for e-commerce sales last year. What's interesting to me on this slide is Optimum Nutrition, right? They make the protein powder. If anybody on the phone right now is a CrossFit junkie, you probably are familiar with Optimum Nutrition. They sell heavily within the Amazon framework, and they've seen extremely fast and extremely large results over the last 12, 18 months online. And you're starting to see here a lot of dog food brands pop up: Wellness, Hills, Blue Buffalo, Taste of the Wild, and Purina. Right, so nearly 5 of the top 10 brands online are all in the pet food sector. Switching from largest brands in sales, now we look for brands that are up and coming, right? Brands that were doing at least $5 million in sales. You'll see that Amazon is the fastest growing brand online. This is significant because Amazon obviously has the distribution, the reach and the distribution, and they're now crossing the lines over. They've made several attempts to get into the consumer goods section, the consumer manufacturer, consumer good category, and they're starting to actually gain some traction now. They have their batteries, which are doing extremely well, which outsell the Amazon Basics, outsell Energizer, Duracell, and all the other brands. And they also have the Amazon Echo, which we'll talk about.
Not to mention the Fire and the tablets.
The Fire and the tablets, yes. So I'm not familiar personally with the Donut Shop Classics, but it sounds like that's something I should probably get to know. Sounds delicious.
Those are coffee pods. You would love them.
All right. Donuts and coffee. What could be better? So when we switch from the brands at, $5 million and up, raising the bar a little bit and saying, tell me about some brands that are a little more established. When you look at the brands that are doing over $20 million in sales, it's a little bit of a different story as far as the percentage growth is concerned, right? To go from $1 in sales to $10 in sales is one thing, but to grow from 20 million to 40 or 60 million is a little bit more difficult. And again, you're seeing the dominance of pet food in the adoption of pet food online. Right? Taste of the Wild is one of the top 2, if not the top 1 brand for pet food in all of Amazon.com. And you're also seeing more edibles show up here. Look at the emergence of Kind bars online. Easy to ship, extended shelf life, quality product, and you can see Kind really capitalizing on this new margin pool. So,
okay, I have a quick question that just came in, Tim. What
yes.
have you seen as a best practice as far as, is this something that should be looked at 1 or 2 times per year, or is this something that people are looking at more frequently?
That's a great question. Sam, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, let me grab that one. That question is a very important question, and the answer to that question is e-commerce is changing rapidly, and whereas a few years ago you could look at data on a quarterly basis or even a semi-annual basis, today you have to look at it on a much more frequent cadence because of how quickly the market's changing and how rapidly you're seeing the expansion and focus of all of these major companies to move from offline to online. So our recommended approach today is to look at this data on a monthly basis.
Okay, great. One quick example of that would actually be within the battery category. The Amazon Basics, AA, AAA batteries were not a top 5 battery brand at the start of the summer last year, and by the end of the summer, they were the #1 brand online. So that's an example of how quickly the landscape can change in just one quarter.
Another quick question, Tim. Considering weight and shipping costs, why does dog food do so well?
Considering weight and shipping costs, that's a great question. The reason why dog food is doing so well, we'll talk about this a little bit further on as well, is the importance of subscription and shipping. We mentioned earlier that Chewy is the largest site online for pet food. Chewy offers free shipping for all of their products, or for all orders over, I believe it's $25. And of course, we all know the impact of Amazon Prime. So the shipping costs seem to be something that the retailers are willing to eat. Shipping costs is something that retailers are willing to eat in order to gain that consumer dollar. So it's not a cost that's being passed on to the end consumer.
Okay, good answer.
Yeah. It's good for us, right? Good for us as a consumer. Everybody on the phone is a pet owner. I think that it's become quite a convenient thing to have now, especially for people in urban areas who don't want to walk 5 blocks or up 6 flights of stairs carrying a 40-pound bag of dog food. It's pretty nice to have it just delivered to your door.
Sure.
So in the effort of trying to be not ruffle any feathers, we looked out of industry for this one analysis here where we looked at J.Crew. So J.Crew, depending on the age of you on the phone right now, may or may not have been a store that you frequented. May not have been a store that you enjoyed. But back in 2012, J.Crew was still performing pretty well. This is looking at both their brick and mortar performance and their online performance. So including brick and mortar, we see that back in 2012, J.Crew felt as though they were performing pretty well. People were shopping there. J.Crew shoppers generally shop there or at department stores. And when we looked at what we did is we conducted a vintage analysis of J.Crew. And while they were performing well, what happened when they started to look outside their 4 walls and understood where else are my shoppers spending their money, we see that athleisure, which would be brands such as Lululemon or Athletica, started to really take off. And because J.Crew is so fixated on just their first-party data, they, despite this being their core shopper, their core segment, they missed the boat. And while athleisure took off, you can see on the right-hand side, shopping at athleisure took off and shopping at off-price continued to grow. J.Crew started to lose out on that segment, started to lose out on those dollars. And of course, J.Crew, we all know, has been in some financial trouble over the last couple of years. And so here's an example where understanding what's happening outside your four walls is going to be able to help you understand who your customer really is and what their demands are. On the left side, you can see the green bar here where you'll see the consumer spend for J.Crew just going down essentially almost every quarter, while those same shoppers that used to spend money at J.Crew started to spend more and more money at Lululemon and Athleta. All right. So we'll jump back into the CPG space now. And what I want to talk to you about is disruptive business models, and specifically we want to talk about subscription and the importance of convenience and what consumers demand in the world of convenience today. So really, when we start looking at Amazon Subscribe and Save, by 1010 Data's definition of retail, which again is the go to your local mall for a definition of retail, Amazon Subscribe and Save today would be a top 25 retailer because of that reoccurring revenue and because of the subscription. The top brands on Amazon Subscribe and Save align very closely with what you saw for the top brands in total dollar sales online. That's not, of course, a coincidence. Right? You'll notice the Kind bars here at number 7 and Pampers at number 1. So while Amazon may not have invented the subscription service, they certainly are the company that brought it mainstream. And so when we start thinking about the subscription services, it's the idea of anticipating the consumer need, knowing that they want their Kind bars or their toilet paper or their paper towels delivered every 2 weeks, every month, whatever it is, but it still requires some anticipation. And Amazon realized it's really difficult for someone to forecast when they will need their next package of paper towels or their next package of dog food even. So what they've done is they've moved and developed a new form of subscription with their Amazon Dash buttons, which in my opinion is nothing more than an on-demand subscription service. These Amazon Dash buttons allow a consumer to identify the brand that they want to have delivered to their doorstep, and when you buy this Dash button, you simply it gets connected to your Amazon account and credit card. You simply press the button, and then the Bounty paper towels or the Huggies diapers will instantly get delivered to your doorstep, providing that convenience that consumers are craving.
One thing I'd like to point out here is as people are looking towards the future, right, the future of Dash, and as many of you guys know, right, Amazon created this Dash button, and it was very much an experiment. And where this is moving, and it's been so successful, is CPG brands are now able to work with other manufacturers of products to actually integrate these buttons within the actual device. So, for example, let's say a Whirlpool washing machine will be able to automatically reorder laundry detergent for the customer.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast the landscape is changing. And as a CPG marketer, one of the things you want to think about is where is the puck going and how do you best market this, and not just market it as far as, hey, maybe we should get involved in this type of service, but start thinking in terms of how does this impact your packaging and your promotion, right? If you're selling Gatorade, should you be selling the 12-ounce bottles, the 16-ounce? Is it a 4-pack or is it an 8-pack? Do I need to create a 7-pack because they're having one every day of the week? There's a definite impact to your strategy around the merchandising and how you want to promote the product. And we'll see some examples of that coming up as well. So For those of you that are interested in what's happening with the Amazon Dash button, we've rolled it up to the manufacturer level. You can see which manufacturers have really gone all in on this and which are starting to dip their toes in the water. To me, what jumps out on this slide is the fact that there's really a movement that we're starting to see with the edibles making some significant traction. Look at Coca-Cola, Kraft, and Pepsi, all among the top Dash button manufacturers. That was very surprising to me. Going back to the Chewy question and their growth. Did I hear a question, Sam? No? So going back to Chewy and how effective Subscribe and Save is, you'll see that the health sector and the pet sector are the fastest growing for these subscription services on Amazon. And what we see with health specifically are a great adoption within the, what I'll say, kind of the vitamins and minerals type of product, and where you're seeing a lot of innovation around the packaging, right? Should it be 30 pills in your pack, or should it be 60? How you want to properly promote that. And if we dug in another layer deeper, we start to look at the winning brands within the health section and look at the top selling items in their ASPs, there's quickly becomes an obvious strategy that's being deployed, and there's definitive differences between the winning and losing brands that you can use to reverse engineer for your own strategy. And again, here's an example where Amazon dominates the marketplace, but not in pet food. And as we know, pet food is the biggest sector for CPG online. Chewy is on pace right now to be a $1.2 billion company. And they didn't even start until 2011. 2012 was their first calendar year. So they've very quickly become a billion-dollar solution and been able to beat Amazon at their own game online. So if you're with Nestle, right, or Mars, or any of these companies in the pet food or pet care category, thinking about a Chewy strategy right now is actually more important than thinking about your Amazon strategy. So looking at the food section, Sam, do you want to walk through these next two slides? I know that you were integral in the creation of a white paper we recently put together on the food delivery market.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, so the food delivery market is very important for CPGs. There's a ton of opportunities here as this space is growing. It's growing like gangbusters. It's over 40% this year. And some of the things that we're seeing here, if you look at this chart, right, so you see some very familiar names: Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, as an example. But we've got this whole group of new merchants that are emerging and just absolutely crushing it. And it's very important for CPGs to start to understand the dynamics behind what's happening and how people are ordering food, and also importantly, adjacent things that may go along with that meal. You go to the next slide. You look at some of the order sizes for these. These numbers are not insignificant, right? So Pizza Hut, Papa John's, Domino's, the companies I told you they've been around for a long, long time, they're seeing average order sizes in the $17 to $20 range, and some of these newer hot startups are doing significantly better than that in terms of getting customers to pay more. These guys are paying $10, $20 more per order on places like Postmates and DoorDash.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. We're going to wrap up with just two more quick small sections, one around promotional opportunities and the other one around localized market intelligence for your advertising strategies. With respect to promotional opportunities, it's important to understand that when you walk into a CVS or a Target or any type of brick and mortar, where products are placed in your shelf space and assortment is very well defined. But when you're shopping online, there are no physical limitations. So what you have on the shelf and who's around you is really up to whatever's on the mind of the consumer. And so understanding what the purchase affinities are for online are another area that opens up new margin pools for you to explore and a new way for you to potentially outpace your competitors. Specifically, we took a look at a couple of my favorite guilty pleasures. And so what we're looking at here is, I'm a huge fan of Pop-Tarts. I don't know if anybody on the phone is, but when you look at people who buy strawberry Pop-Tarts online, they are much more likely, and at a pretty extreme rate, might I add, to want to purchase also the Oreo double stuffed sandwiches. So considering Kellogg's and Kraft are not, necessarily core competitors, it opens up a co-marketing opportunity or potentially an advertising or couponing type of strategy that you can work together to help drive both basket size for your retailer and also to help push product. Another example would be my favorite thing of all time, which is Nutella. And Nutella, for this one particular retailer, this is the data we looked at for an existing customer, where we noticed that of people who are purchasing Nutella online, the industry average said 15% of the time people would also be buying, again, those Oreo double stuffed cookies. However, on this website, that only happens 5% of the time. Being able to cross-merchandise and co-market these products together would represent a potential additional $3 million in additional revenue. And this is one of obviously dozens of merchandising opportunities that exist within this one retailer website, one grocery website. So again, the idea of $3 million may not move the needle, but the thinking here is that you can find, a dozen of these and start to really win over some share of wallet. The last thing I want to talk through is understanding where you want to spend your dollars. So everyone's working with limited resources, and there's any number of reasons why you may be winning or losing. Understanding how you're performing versus the competition is great, but then executing against it, sometimes you need to be much more specific with your dollar, with your strategy. So what we tend to do, we looked into Pittsburgh, and we looked at the drugstore market. This is an example where we're looking at CVS versus Walgreens and Rite Aid. And what you can do is you can plot out where the individual stores are and identify how anyone is performing in that specific region, and if you need to improve based on your merchandising mix, improve based on driving basket size or dollars, or even just getting people in the door. And obviously each one of those is going to drive its own marketing strategy. For right now, for those of you on the CVS account team, I can tell you right now the store performance in Pittsburgh is not going well because you're just not getting the number of shoppers in the door that you need, which is an entirely different challenge than if you had the foot traffic but you just didn't have the revenue. So for now, these are hopefully a few examples for everyone on the phone about how you can look outside your four walls, how you can look at competitive data to start to help inform your overall business strategy and certainly your online strategy. So to wrap up, the important thing to do here is think about what Wayne Gretzky said: don't skate where the puck is, skate where the puck's going. We believe that visibility is what's going to differentiate you from your competition. Seeing the ice, seeing the field differently than your competition while playing by the same rules is what made all Wayne Gretzky, and Joe Montana, and Serena Williams great, and it's what can make you guys great as well. And think of the continued trend towards convenience. We talked about subscription 1.0, called the Amazon Subscribe and Save, the on-demand subscription of the Dash buttons, the new market entrants such as Chewy.com beating Amazon at their own game and being the #1 location for pet food online. Anticipate the customer needs, be as convenient as you can, and invest in solutions that are going to get you the information you need to have that additional context. Think of the J. Crew example. They're going to give you that additional context you need so that you can understand what good and what bad is and how to react appropriately. that's it. Hopefully this gets us back to on time. If you have any questions, I'm happy to field them. If not, I'd like to thank everyone for their time.
Sure. One question here. Going forward, which demographic group do you see driving online grocery shopping? Either the retirees or the kind bar generation, or millennials, aka the Pop-Tart generation?
Can I take this?
Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. I like the kind bar and the Pop-Tart generation.
The answer to the question is the Pop-Tart generation. It's the millennials who are driving a lot of the change in the consumer behavior. And yeah, it's very important for CPGs to realize, right? So when you start looking not even towards the future, but what's happening now, you cannot look at things through the containers that you looked at them in the past.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions that have come in, and I thank both of you. It was really an excellent presentation. I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience did too. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.